The girl was so shocked by what she saw that her eyes opened wide and barely noticeable tears appeared on them. Her mouth also fell open, but she was unable to say anything. Frozen in silent fear, she stared at what was in front of her. At the same time, a guy with dark hair, who was in the same room with a girl, was sleeping calmly on the bed, looking completely peaceful and drooling on the pillow. Under the blanket there was something incomprehensible, like a small hill. The fabric enveloped something underneath. The sun illuminated the room, the morning rays fell on the face of the sleeping young man, and something under the fabric of the blanket was located next to the guy's feet. Outside the room, located in a large building, loud screams were heard from a girl who could not restrain herself from horror. She did not at all expect to see such a scene in her own room where she lived. Waking up from such a piercing scream, the guy asked the girl what happened. Rising slightly, the sleepy young man continued his question and clarified why the girl was making noise so early. The girl could not stop screaming and, closing her eyes, she herself asked the question of what kind of thing was in front of the guy. The guy didn't immediately understand what was going on. He opened his eyes and asked what the girl meant. At this time, something that had so excited the girl shook slightly under the blanket. Blushing, the girl babbled on about how she was the third daughter of the Marquis house, who grew up without a father. She rarely communicated with guys, but asked to control herself because she and the young man were roommates. She even suggested that, unfortunately, this is how men do it. The guy, perplexed, asked again what the problem was. The girl, waving her hands, could not understand how the young man could be so calm and asked him to make something under the blanket fall down. However, the opposite happened. Something under the fabric suddenly began to behave like a living creature and squirm. The girl was scared and, jumping away, could not understand why it was moving. But after a second, the girl wondered how it could move. And, opening her eyes, she stared at something, trying to understand what kind of creature was hiding at the guy's feet and wouldn't crawl out from under the blanket. Finally pulling off the blanket, the guy revealed that something was tentacles sticking out from the seal, which the young man seemed to have summoned in a dream. He didn't see any problem in this, so he couldn't understand why the girl was so scared. The girl was shocked and blushed even more, not understanding how the guy, whose name is Noah Ellen, was able to summon them, also in a dream. A couple of days ago the young man became the roommate of the surprised girl, but she was no longer delighted with such a person. Suddenly, the tentacle grew longer and reached out to the girl's hand, clasping her wrist. It was so unexpected that she did not have time to react to try to avoid the touch of such a creature. Taking advantage of a moment's pause, the tentacles reached closer and already grabbed other parts of the girl's body, wrapping around her stomach and thighs. She clearly didn't like what happened, because she didn't know what these tentacles could do to her. The girl got scared and asked Noah to help her free herself, because the tentacles were already squeezing her arms, neck and approaching other parts of her body, clearly not intending to let go or at least loosen their grip. Standing aside, the young man calmly replied that he could not do anything with them, because the tentacles appeared while he was sleeping and they behaved this way because they had a nightmare. But the girl, resisting, still asked not to touch her. The girl did not want to put up with what was happening and asked the tentacles to stop. However, they were not going to stop and climbed under her clothes. They didn't care where or what parts of the body they touched a defenseless person. The tentacles approached the girl's face and she felt how sticky they were. She didn't want this to happen and asked the guy to help her free herself. She hoped that her requests would pity the young man and he would help her. Noah did not want to interfere in what was happening and, thinking about what he should have for breakfast, went to the closet, choosing clothes. The girl, angry, called the young man and did not understand why he was so calm and told him to do something to help her. The guy, starting to get dressed, said that the tentacles had become attached to the girl after the last time and she should not be afraid of them, because they would not hurt her. Noah advised the girl to play with them until they got tired. Not believing his words, the girl almost cried again. She still did not believe that the young man could simply leave, leaving her in this position. Did he really care that she didn't want to be with the tentacles, especially when they were touching her? The tentacles completely stopped ceremoniously treating the girl's body. They completely enveloped her and stained various parts of her body with their mucus, not paying attention to the girl's cries and her pleas to stop such actions. The tentacles had not left the girl alone since the morning. It was terrible for her. She once again wondered why this was all happening to her. Why did she have to endure such an attitude towards herself and feel like a weak-willed doll at the mercy of the tentacles? A few days ago it was a normal day. There were a lot of clouds in the sky. The sun also illuminated everything around. On the eastern part of the continent, which is called Amaryllia, there is a large kingdom called Winbirds. Around the huge castle stood various buildings, incomparable in size to the central structure. The majestic building was the most prestigious academy of magicians in the kingdom of Winbirds. Magicians have been trained there since the first day the kingdom was founded, because a high level of magic is an indicator of prestige and a symbol of strength, proving power. The girl was one of the academy students, and a few days before the incident that happened in the morning, in which she experienced humiliation because no one listened to her or helped her, she came to the director's office. Approaching the desired door, the girl, apologizing for the disturbance, gently knocked in order to enter the director's office. The feeling of anxiety that had overcome her from the very beginning, as soon as she approached the office, did not leave her. The girl, whose name is Anya.However, entered a spacious room in which there were already two people, a woman sitting at the table and a young man who stood near the director. They were clearly talking about something before the student arrived, but they didn't show it. The lady thanked the girl for coming. The woman looked pleased. However, the guy, also in the office, remained silent and did not move from his place next to him. Perhaps he felt awkward because he did not know the person who interrupted them. The man next to the young man was the director of the Magic Academy, whose name was Margaret Grimm. Margaret noted that the girl arrived just in time. She was clearly impatient to tell the student something, so she called her. The director is the most famous magician in the kingdom of Winbirds. She not only excels in magic, but also has a huge amount of energy. Magical abilities were very important in the kingdom, because they largely determined status. Anya was slightly embarrassed, since a visit to the director's office could mean something bad. And also the fact that there was a guy in the room whom she had never seen before that day made her nervous. Collecting her thoughts, the student asked the director if she had done anything outside the rules of the academy. However, Margaret hastened to assure her that nothing terrible had happened and the girl need not worry. The director explained that although the academy was created exclusively for girls, not everyone liked the idea of such a gender division. The student replied that she had heard similar conversations. Perhaps someone preferred not to separate boys and girls. Continuing her explanation, Margaret Grimm raised her hand to indicate another person in the office, and explained that she was trying to change the established tradition. After all, starting small, you can change a lot in the future. The director decided to take the young man standing nearby to the academy. The guy looked innocent enough. The woman continued to talk about how the young man was one of the best students and that he would become a kind of precedent. Anya was surprised. The girl couldn't say anything, but mentally she still wondered how a guy could enter a women's academy, because such a sense of gender division was collapsing and made no sense. Not paying attention to the student's confusion, Margaret looked at the young man and invited him to introduce himself, after which the guy, apologizing, agreed with the proposal. He also felt slightly awkward, but did not show it. The new student hastened to fulfill the director's request and, saying his name, Noah, extended his hand forward as a sign of acquaintance with his future classmate. Noah was not shy and made contact quite easily. The girl, still confused, said hello and, saying her name in response, Anya.However added that she was glad to meet her again. But in her thoughts, the student still could not come to terms with the fact that the director took on a boy as a student. The guy was nice and smiled while looking at the girl, but he gave off a strange aura. Anya wondered what kind of magic Noah uses. Is it possible that his ability is one of the forbidden techniques? A strange sound forced the girl to be distracted from her thoughts. She was embarrassed and slightly confused, not understanding what in the office could cause such a disgusting feeling. She had never experienced anything like this before, and that made it even weirder. Trying to figure it out, Anya thought that perhaps the guy's hands were so strange, because she had never shaken men's hands before. The feeling of the touch was like touching a soft and slippery animal. Finally, turning her eyes lower to her hand, the girl saw that it was not a human hand touching her at all, but long tentacles. She was shocked by what she saw and became more nervous. However, the director did not share the girl's excitement and, adjusting her glasses, said that she forgot to warn that although the young man has colossal power, he can only use it in such a specific way. Margaret Grimm continued and explained that Noah uses black magic to summon tentacles. The young man, demonstrating a seal on his hand, from which tentacles seemed to grow, bore the nickname Tentacle Wizard. Anya couldn't believe what was happening. Drops of tears appeared on her face due to shock and a little fear, because the guy who would now study with her used black magic with the help of his tentacle. The girl assured that she had never heard of magicians like him before. The young man, clearly having a high opinion of himself, only replied that he was a magician of a rare type, so it was not surprising that the student had not seen anyone like him. Switching the topic, Anya reproached Noah for such capricious actions, accusing him of touching a girl he had just met with his tentacles, and ended up calling the young man bad, which made him slightly offended. Closing his eyes, the guy noted with disappointment that he expected such behavior, because people see black magic from a humiliating side. The director was amused by the current situation and said that he should not allow the tentacles to be willful. The young man still did not accept the comments in his direction and began to claim that his tentacles had medicinal properties. Margaret did not understand what the guy was talking about, and the girl asked how their behavior could be attributed to medicine. To Anya's surprise, the guy began to list that the girl had problems sleeping and severe eye fatigue because of this, as well as an unbalanced diet and liver problems, which made the student even more surprised. Noah continued and noted that the girl's mucous membranes in her throat and nose are vulnerable to dryness, which is why she doesn't feel very well, and in general Anya should change her lifestyle, because this is not normal for her age. The girl listened to the young man with her mouth open, because everything he said was true. She couldn't believe that the guy found out so much personal information about her. This fact could not fit into her head, and therefore she was very puzzled. Anya asked how Noah managed to find out such details about her, to which the young man, folding his arms on his chest and grinning, replied that all the information was provided to him by his tentacles and they could really make accurate diagnoses. But the girl was no longer impressed, but horrified by this fact. She answered with some contempt that everything the young man said sounded scary and asked another question why the tentacles even have such an ability, which upset the guy. With a downcast face, Noah only added that he shared this information with the best intentions. The director intervened and asked the girl, noting that even though the guy was difficult, to be kinder to her future neighbor, to which Anya hesitantly agreed. A second later, the student understood the meaning of Margaret's words and emotionally repeated what she had heard. She again couldn't believe what she heard. Would a girl really live in the same room with a guy who doesn't really control his tentacles? But everything had already been decided. The student dormitory housed many rooms, indicating that there were many students studying at the academy. All the students lived together in the same area, because classes and training meant total attendance. Until recently, one of the rooms, number 217, belonged to Anya Hansby. As evidenced by the sign hanging above the door, it was ordinary and did not stand out from the rest. The guy, unlike the girl, did not resist the current situation at all. He didn't understand his neighbor's stubbornness, because he couldn't just stay sleeping on the street, and the only room with free space was room 217. However, upon entering the room, the young man could not believe that it really belonged to the girl standing next to him. Things were scattered everywhere, making it as if there was no free space for a second person. Noah sighed and couldn't even think of how to comment on the situation inside, looking at the pile of scattered things. The girl tried to justify herself and said that such a mess in the room is not often, and she simply cannot always devote time to it. The girl, beginning to doubt the correctness of her agreement to live with the guy, remembered that the director, knowing her weakness, promised that if she coped with this problem, then she would be allowed to come to the training grounds at night. However, Noah did not reproach Anya and, exhaling, decided to assure the girl that he would sort out the mess in their shared room. This was unexpected, because not every person, coming into someone else's room, would offer to help in cleaning. The girl was skeptical about this statement and asked the guy if he really intended to clean up himself, to which the young man answered in the negative. Did he really want to use what the girl saw in the director's office? Sitting down slightly, Noah used the seal to summon his tentacles and added that they would be the ones who would clean the room, not he. The guy clearly didn't feel the desire to clean up other people's things and clean up the mess he saw on his own. The girl was not happy with this outcome of events and was categorically against their appearance next to her again. Her impressions, which were not the best, left much to be desired. Anya didn't like the tentacles. The guy was perplexed why the girl was against help, because his tentacles were very good at cleaning. However, the girl protested and did not want to allow these monsters to touch her things, to which the guy again asked her not to call them that. The young man tried to explain that these creatures are simply things created by magic, and they are completely different from monsters. There was no need to be afraid of them, because they were almost completely under the control of the young man. Having softened a little, Anya, although she wanted to believe what Noah was telling her, still doubted the veracity of his words, remembering what happened earlier. She had a strange feeling of distrust towards these creatures. The guy did not back down and prove that he was telling the truth, also noting the fact that when the liquid that the tentacles produce evaporates, it leaves a wonderful aroma, which the girl was immediately convinced of, confirming this fact. The tentacles had already begun to wash the windows, and the guy continued to talk about them. It turned out that mucus is also very good at killing all bacteria during cleaning. And for some reason it was believed these creatures really did everything to destroy all microbes. Having finished wiping the glass, the tentacle showed its professionalism, because the dirty window actually practically sparkled with brilliance. It was not difficult for the tentacles to wash stains and remove dust. For them this task was quite doable. Noah continued to praise his subordinates as they worked, saying that they could also soften fabric during washing, making it more pleasant rather than just clean, and even make things smell nice. Then the tentacles began to attack other objects. Noah noted that they can still sort out all separable and inseparable garbage. The creatures seemed to be conscious as they performed the not-so-easy sorting tasks. Having finished with one thing, the tentacles immediately started another. Having cleared away the trash, they began to place the scattered books neatly back on the shelves. Because of this, the cabinets took on a completely different look, because the books were arranged in a certain order. The girl could not believe what was happening in her room. She admired how the recently dirty room became clean in a matter of seconds thanks to the tentacles she didn't like so much. However, Anya noted that if you look at everything that was happening from the outside, it was more like a dark ritual than ordinary cleaning with improvised objects. After all, if you think about it, some creatures were now completely in control of the process. Having completed the cleaning, the room took on a completely different look and was transformed, which amazed the girl. Now it was clear that the room contained 2 spacious beds, a large window, 2 workstations, and even a carpet. Despite her indignation, the girl was happy and did not even immediately recognize her room, because she had not seen it so clean for a long time. The guy laughed good-naturedly and asked his neighbor if she now liked his tentacles. Anya was in no hurry to praise his helpers, but noted that they were really good and thanked Noah for his help. The young man replied that this was not a problem, because now this visit was his room too. After a couple of minutes, the girl still admitted that although it was scary at first, when she got used to seeing them, the tentacles no longer seemed bad to her. This confession pleased the young man, and he even asked his neighbor if what she was saying was true. Inspired, Noah told the girl that his dream was to make all people happy with the help of tentacles. He encouraged his neighbor to join him and help make his dream a reality. However, the girl was not so impressed and immediately refused such an offer. The guy, it seemed, could not believe that the student had so sharply refused him and wondered why she was against it. Changing the topic, Noah became more restrained and added that his appearance and future studies at the academy are not determined only by his dream of the happiness of other people. He clearly meant that he pursues not only noble goals, but also had completely selfish ones. Having softened, the girl was also surprised by such a harsh statement and wondered what the neighbor was talking about. Perhaps she guessed that his motives might be of a different nature than simply selfless and free help to others. Anya asked what the guy meant, but the young man was in no hurry to reveal the meaning of his words and only answered that this was just the beginning. The girl, without waiting for an answer, said that Noah is a strange guy. Deciding to stop this confusing conversation, the girl stretched slightly and said that so much had happened today and that's why she was very tired. The guy, not missing his chance, offered the girl a massage. She instantly became gloomy and asked him if he meant that his tentacles would give her a massage, and the young man could not understand whether this was a refusal or not. The reaction was ambiguous for the guy, or he simply did not want to accept that the girl was against his idea. Anya refused, which made the young man again perplexed, because only recently the girl said that his tentacles were not so bad, and it seemed to him that she would not mind accepting his help through the use of the creatures that he controlled. However, the girl, slightly embarrassed, admitted that the tentacles had really cleaned up their room well, and, after all, they were made of magic and not some kind of monster. Therefore, the girl nevertheless agreed to the proposal. The young man was very happy with what he heard. His eyes seemed to sparkle, and he asked again if he had heard her correctly. Perhaps he was a little doubtful whether the girl really agreed to what he wanted to do to her. The neighbor immediately warned the guy that if he tried to do anything strange, no matter how significant, he would live on the rug in the hallway. Not taking the threat seriously, he said that he was only making sure that the girl would get a massage. Looking at the bed, Anya asked the guy what she needed to do. Noah said that he would be summoning a higher level being and because of this it was necessary to wait. The girl did not understand what a higher-level creature sounded like. The room became even brighter than before. The guy, closing his eyes, began to call upon the dedicated tentacles with his magic. He looked very focused, but at the same time at ease, because the young man knew what to do. A large circle appeared on the floor in the room. Because of the spell, a strong wind rose in the room, which is why the girl even covered herself with her hands. She didn't know what to expect after the young man finished using his summoning magic. Suddenly, from the center of the pentagram, something begins to appear that is not similar to the previously seen tentacles that helped get out. The creature looked strange and unusual, because it looked not like a tentacle, but a large monster. The student was slightly frightened and heard some incomprehensible sound that the creature made. It gradually rose from the circle, being in the mucus, and after a moment it practically appeared in front of the couple in the room. The room was filled with a huge tentacle, larger than all the others. It seemed that Noah was happy and proud of himself, because he was able to summon something so big. He tried so hard because he wanted to surpass his abilities and use all his strength. The girl, however, did not share the same feelings that overwhelmed the young man. She was very scared and even screamed. It seemed that the large tentacle consisted of many small ones. The creature approached the girl, causing her to press herself against the wall. She couldn't understand what it was, because everything she had seen before was much smaller in size and suggested the guy return those whom he had summoned earlier. Noah, however, did not understand the girl's fear. He said that the previous tentacles were needed for small tasks, such as cleaning and other things, and the current one is best suited for massage. Then the tentacles began to approach the girl even faster, which is why she screamed and began to ask for help. She covered her face with her hands and tears barely appeared on it. The girl experienced unpleasant emotions because she was afraid of what would happen to her. Tentacles gently touched the girl's hand and began to knead it, moistening it with their mucus, from which some kind of aroma emanated. The student was filled with strange sensations because she had never experienced anything like this before. The guy, being nearby, seemed to be commanding them and said that first they should start with the hand and advised Anya to relax. She was embarrassed, but did not remove her hand, allowing the tentacles to do what the young man told them. Noah repeated his words that he said earlier that the girl needs to sleep more, because lack of sleep is harmful to health. He also noted that she had not taken a bath for a long time. The neighbor was amazed that he could only find out by touching her. Anya clearly liked what was happening. She closed her eyes in pleasure and admitted that the tentacles were truly magnificent. The young man managing them was also happy and asked if the girl felt better just from the hand massage. Further, already lying on the bed, the girl allowed the tentacles to touch other parts of her body. The guy said that now they would massage her legs and again advised the neighbor to relax her body. Many tentacles actively crushed the girl's supple body. Her legs were covered in the mucus they produced. There were so many of them that the liquid they produced was already everywhere. Lying on her stomach, Anya couldn't see what was happening, so she only felt the tentacles rising higher, which confused her. She didn't even think about the fact that she was turned over on purpose to block her view. However, she didn't mind. She was pleased with what was happening, which is why she closed her eyes and drops of sweat flowed down her body. Noah commented on the massage and said that the mucus released by the tentacles acts as a lotion to help the body recover. Enveloping different parts of the body, the tentacles massaged the girl's feet, massaging each finger individually, lubricating everything with mucus. It's amazing that the creatures were so attentive, not forgetting about any area. Returning to the hands, the tentacles gently kneaded them again. Noah again added that increased blood circulation rejuvenates the skin, making it softer. His knowledge was impressive, because even after receiving information, it can be misunderstood. The student completely began to lose control. It was incredible for her. She felt pleasure with her whole body and could not hold back any longer. Did the girl really give up and decide to no longer resist what was being done to her? However, what happened next brought her back to her senses. The tentacles began to touch the girl's interesting places, which is why she immediately protested and asked to stop, because she did not want to be touched where the tentacles were. The girl was very embarrassed, because she felt that they were very close to those places where she did not want to be touched. She turned all red and could not speak normally because of shame. Already lying on her stomach, the girl repeated again and again not to touch her, but the tentacles did not stop and continued to massage the girl's forms. Anya could not even think that she was really being massaged in such unusual places. However, the guy looked completely calm. He only instructed the tentacles to massage the lymph nodes and advised the girl to just relax. It seemed that the young man knew exactly what to do and was confident in the effect of his abilities. Noah looked tired. His eyes were dull and sweat was dripping off his face. He said that such actions used up a lot of magical power and required significant mental effort. The call became increasingly difficult to manage. The guy moved his fingers on the seals to control the tentacles and asked to rely on him. He was clearly confident that with the help of his magical abilities he could make the girl happy. The tentacles wriggled and intertwined with each other, secreting more and more mucus. They had already begun to move more chaotically and, trying to somehow track their actions, it was impossible to determine on what principle they carried out the guy's commands. The young man assured the girl that with this massage he would show her what he was capable of. Noah looked really confident in what he was doing as he kept moving his hands along the seals. His ability to wield magical power was truly high. However, the girl was still scared. She literally screamed and asked why the guy had such a serious face. It scared her. Anya could not restrain herself and made obscene sounds. Previously, she could not even imagine that she would be in this position. Having completely lost control, the girl simply surrendered to the sensations, sobbing periodically. She only felt how the tentacles penetrated under her clothes and grabbed her curves. Asking again to stop, the girl did not understand that nothing could be stopped. She tried to say that a regular massage would suit her, but it had no effect. Only one person could stop what was happening, who did not want it. The tentacles did not stop for a second and intensively continued to do what the guy had called for. The girl was not aware of what was happening to her. She did not want such a massage. The tentacles did not spare her and touched her everywhere. The young man's fingers did not stop moving. And before the next stroke of the brush, one of the seals lit up. The guy said that everything that happened was just the beginning. Considering that he did not want to finish yet, he decided to continue the massage even more intensely. The girl no longer understood what her neighbor was talking about. She had no strength, she was exhausted and could barely ask what the guy meant. Due to the current situation, she could not understand what was happening around her at all. Noah explained that all previous actions were just a warm-up. The tentacles were just beginning to do what they were called upon to do. Now they will do even nicer things with her. Just for fun, the young man even asked how Anya felt about this. The student seemed to instantly come to her senses and opened her eyes wide. She jerked and screamed sharply because she didn't want this. The girl thought that it couldn't be worse than what was happening to her now, but she was wrong. He didn't care what the girl thought because he was determined to do what he wanted with her. The tentacles became more active and wrapped themselves even more around the girl's entire body. From her face to her toes, they touched the student's skin, not hesitating to touch even her interesting places and secreting more and more of their mucus. Once finished, the tentacles disappeared as suddenly as they had appeared. To the remaining one wet tentacle, the young man said that they had done a great job and did a great job. For today the guy let them go and said goodbye. Anya at this time was lying carelessly on the same bed with her eyes closed in pleasure. There was a slight blush on her face, and her skin, moistened with unusual mucus, seemed to really sparkle. Shaking off his hands, Noah noted that such moisturizing was much better for the girl's skin than any cream. The servants in his house, the guy recalled, were incredibly pleased with how soft their skin became after the tentacles. With a wink, the new roommate added that with all this he wanted to say that he hoped for a good relationship with the girl in the future. The guy was clearly pleased with himself. He really believed that such manipulations would soon help him. However, Anya did not share his enthusiasm. She stood up on the bed, angry, clenched her hand into a fist and muttered that she would never forgive the young man for what he did to her. Noah asked what she meant. The girl screamed that she wanted to regain her innocence back, but the guy again did not understand anything. And so began the life of an academy student with her new strange neighbor, whom she called Octopus Guy. First day of school, the guy introduced himself to the whole class and said that he was now a new student at the academy. His name was Noah Ellen and he would be pleased to meet everyone. The girls sitting in the office were shocked, since the academy was only for girls, but now a boy will study there. Some of the girls did not understand why this was happening so suddenly, because no one was warned about the new student. However, the girl, already known to the guy, did not share the general shock. Anya found out about this event before everyone else and already managed to get to know the guy and his abilities. After the introduction, Anya hastily left the office and decided to get away from her new acquaintance as quickly as possible. But she didn't manage to go far. Behind her, the student heard her name and a request to stop. Anya didn't want Noah to talk to her at the academy. The guy running after his classmate did not understand why she treated him this way, because they not only now lived together, but also study, for which he received a ban on the use of these words. The girl explained that Noah was an exchange student transferred to the women's academy, and therefore he stood out too much. The guy will be a hot topic of discussion in the near future, because everyone has been interested in him since the morning. Continuing, the student added that it would be strange if everyone found out about their living together in the same room, because then something could happen. To which the guy laughed and said that their relationship was already strange thanks to his tentacles. Anya grabbed the guy by the face and threatened him not to tell anyone that he massaged her with his tentacles, and also forbade him to carelessly show them within the academy. The young man promised not to let this happen. Within the academy grounds there was a building that looked like a large arena. It was a sunny day and the students were waiting for training. Since the academy was not simple, the management could allow the construction for practical classes. There were stands inside the arena with no one in them. In the center of the training building were students holding competitive events. However, it seemed that not only training sessions, but also full-fledged matches could be held in this place. The girl with short hair made an attack and used her ability, with which she was able to summon flames and shoot fireballs. Each student at the academy was required to master magic and develop her skills. The student facing her classmate used a different strategy and decided to use her earth summoning ability to grow a large wall of dirt to repel her attacker. The teacher, whose name was Heidi Mayer, said that the students would have a combat class, where each student had to fight in a ring with protective magic that prevented injury, and so everyone could give their best. Devices to help students avoid injuring each other stood along the perimeter of the competition area, and exuded healing magic. They were installed not only to prevent injuries, but also to help in emergency situations. Hearing this, the young man said that such a platform was indeed convenient, but useless since the magic level of the academy students was quite high, because they were always being watched by the powerful director. Noah decided to take an interest and asked the girl he knew about her magical abilities, whether they were good, whether she could use magic. The bro's question took the girl by surprise and made her twitch slightly. Anya was embarrassed and could not really answer anything. She felt awkward and uncomfortable from the question asked, but the young man did not understand why and only continued to look questioningly at his neighbor. Another girl intervened in their conversation, mocking Anya. She gloated and said that the new exchange student knew nothing and added that it was cute since the guy was asking Anya about her magical abilities. The girl with long blonde hair and curvaceous looks was kind, but decided to point out that her classmate should start studying from the first year, showing her disdain for her. Noah's acquaintance became slightly angry and frowned. The young man did not understand why the situation had become so tense and asked what kind of girl was behaving so rudely. It was unpleasant for him to see a person behave uncivilized. Anya, a little nervously, said that the girl with blonde hair, for some reason unknown to her, liked to tease her. The girl clearly felt her superiority and behaved in a very peculiar way towards the weaker one. Emilia Vane, who had very expressive curves that her neighbor Noah seemed to envy, was the best student in practical and academic skills not only among her classmates, but throughout the entire academy. The young man received a lot of information that was new to him and tried to analyze everything, no matter what the teachers or his fellow students told him. However, he understood that he should not believe everything they say and treat new things with caution. Having come to a logical conclusion, Noah said that Emilia had gone too far with her statements and asked her to take back her words about Anya. However, the girl did not like the remark in her direction. She looked at the young man disdainfully and asked if he was serious. Emilia spoke rudely about her classmate and was not going to take her words back, because she did not think that she was wrong. Anya stood aside and seemed afraid to say something in response to the rude woman. The girl was nervous and pressed her hands to her chest, which is why Emilia felt much stronger and did not stop her barbs. The guy did not let go of the situation and said that Emilia did not understand much. The young man said that his friend had a huge amount of magical power inside, and in general, it is rude to mock and call another person names. Emilia ignored the next remark and only asked how the guy knew that the girl had a large amount of magical power. The guy immediately talked about their massage with tentacles, to which Anya hurried to interrupt him. Emilia did not pay any attention to the words of the guy, whose mouth the other girl was hastily trying to shut, and only told him to wait and watch the next fight with Anya's participation, and then he would understand why she spoke so much about her. The guy, who was carefully dragged away, upon hearing Emilia's words, did not answer anything, but became interested in what would happen next. Two people entered the training arena. Other students crowded around the site to watch the upcoming fight. Although the site was meant for training, now it looked like a battlefield. Emilia stood confidently in front of her opponent and said with irony that it was a pleasure for her to fight with her classmates so soon. Anya didn't answer and looked very tense. Grinning again, Emilia asked if the girl was ready to lose the fight before it even started. She was confident of her victory. Anya did not just give up and, making every effort, created a seal. The girl decided to use fire and called on the seal to help her and give her the strength to burn the enemy. Nav, who was watching what was happening, was also excited, but he supported his neighbor and believed that she could win. However, the seal was not going to obey its owner and did not give her fire to start the battle. Anya was shocked and froze. The guy who believed so much in the girl's abilities also fell silent and couldn't believe his eyes. Magic did not listen to the girl and did not obey her. Emilia seemed to know that something like this would happen, so she just laughed, showing her superiority. Emilia said that Anya was unable to use even the simplest magic, which made the girl feel ashamed. Emilia continued, grieving that she did not understand how such a person was accepted into the academy, and that she had better give up so as not to get hurt. Anya was very upset by the words of a girl with enviable figures. She couldn't say anything and lowered her head. The girl despaired and began to think that she had no talent for magic at all. Noah saw the state his new neighbor was in and was also confused. He didn't know how to help her in such a situation. Turning around, the guy heard someone's voice behind him. Someone wondered how a person like Anya, with such mediocre abilities, got into the academy. The girls watching backstage in the arena were discussing Emilia's rival. Everyone said that Anya was the only one who did not know magic and the one who could not pass the practice in magic. They even mentioned that the girl got into the academy through bribery. The young man did not like what he heard. He looked sadly at the girls discussing his neighbor and realized that this gossip most likely could not be true. There still had to be a fight in the arena. Emilia once again asked Anya what she was waiting for and whether she wanted to give up right away. However, Noah's neighbor was not going to lose so quickly. She gathered her strength and ran towards her opponent, saying that she would not give up without trying. Emilia, grinning, said that she suspected she would hear such an answer. She was self-confident, so she did not see Anya as a worthy rival. The girl, who was stronger than most of the students at the academy, decided to recognize the power of the wind with the help of a seal. She asked him to become storm arrows and help her win. Emilia attacked. From the seal she created, several large windy arrows flew out and rushed towards her classmate. However, Anya was able to maneuver and deftly dodged all the arrows. She was confident in her movements and screamed that Emilia would never hit her. The rest of those watching the battle were surprised at what they saw, because everyone was sure of Anya's imminent defeat. Emilia was not surprised. She only noted that this was expected, because despite the fact that her rival does not have magical abilities, her physical strength should be of a high level. Realizing that a couple of arrows would not be enough, Emilia fired many times more with her seal and seemed to be amused by the duel with the girl. Anya, who did not expect such outstanding strength from her classmate, clearly began to doubt even her evasion abilities. Noah, seeing this, shouted to his friend that there were too many arrows aimed in her direction, and she would not have time to dodge them all. What was supposed to happen happened. Anya was unable to maneuver from all the attacks and one of the arrows hit her, causing the girl to scream loudly. Emilia did not strike her opponent with a strong blow. She only made sure that Anya could not move. Therefore, at that moment when the enemy could not escape, the girl decided that it was time for her to strike the decisive blow. However, Anya was still not going to give up. She was aware of her weakness in using magic, so she took a different tactic and tried to get closer to her rival. Emilia was surprised that her opponent did not want to admit defeat, and resisted to the last. Neighbor Noah only thought that Emilia was too naive, because the blows from the arrows were really strong and painful, but their force was still restrained by the devices standing around the perimeter of the arena. Emilia still could not understand what her rival wanted to achieve. Why doesn't she just admit defeat and end this meaningless fight? Anya thought that she could use her physical abilities if she managed to reduce the distance to the girl to an outstretched arm. However, something happened that shocked everyone present in watching the battle. Noah, her classmates, and even the teacher opened their mouths in surprise because they saw how Anya was seriously injured. The girl herself did not expect that something like this would happen. Anya looked at her stomach and saw that it was badly damaged. Anya could not understand how her plan was discovered. She wondered how Emilia knew she was going to fight with melee combat. The best student of the academy looked very concentrated. Her abilities were very impressive and the level of her air magic was quite high. Anya was no longer even confident in her physical strength, because the man standing in front of her was too strong. Anya fell to her knees after being attacked. Emilia stood nearby and only asked a mocking question about how she liked air magic. Emilia made it clear that the power of her kazatum, that is, air magic, could have caused more significant damage to her if she had a protective ring. The rival coughed, and the girl added that with such wounds there was no point in trying to fight further. Noah, concerned about his friend's condition, shouted her name and immediately ran to her to help her up. The female students watching the battle, on the contrary, admired what they saw. They did not feel sorry for Anya, but only praised Emilia and were glad that they were able to watch the girl release her advanced magic and fight. Anya, who did not have the strength to get up, tried to tell the guy who ran up to her that she could still fight, to which the young man asked her not to force herself. Emilia only suggested that the girl quickly visit the infirmary. The best student continued that after they help her, it would be better for her not to go back, but to leave the academy and return back to her home. Anya couldn't answer again, because the fight made her feel bad. Her appearance left much to be desired and she really needed help. Noah, who again heard barbs directed at his neighbor, seemed to be angry and clenched his hands into fists. Due to his attitude, magical power began to gather around his fingers. He decided not to leave this situation and turned to Emilia. He reminded her that he had previously told the girl that she had gone too far, both in her words and in her actions. The guy was determined and seriously warned Emilia that if she continued to show his first girlfriend in such a light and mock her sincere efforts in studying magic, then he would never forgive her. Anya didn't understand well what was happening and still couldn't speak. However, the young man's words definitely touched her. Emilia did not attach much importance to the guy's words and was not going to take his warnings seriously. The girl said that his words were nonsense. Why would he stand up for anyone? Even though he is a man and has permission to enter all areas of the girls' academy, she wanted to see if he was really that strong and special. This time another opponent entered the arena for Emilia. The guy didn't seem to worry at all and felt calm, although he had recently seen how strong the girl he was about to fight was. For some reason, being in a good mood, the young man decided to be frank and admitted that one-on-one battles were not his forte. The girl, thinking that the guy was simply afraid, asked him if, after all his words addressed to her, he was really scared and did not want to engage in a fight. She said that she would deal with Noah as soon as possible. Emilia decided not to change tactics and used her strong move again. Using her seal, she summoned the power of the wind and again attacked her opponent with several arrows. However, the guy was not impressed by the girl's ability. He already knew that she used air magic well, but he easily deflected the arrows flying at him. The girl was shocked and did not understand how her strongest ability could not even hurt the young man, because recently, with the help of her arrows, she managed to easily defeat his friend. The female students watching the fight were also perplexed. They couldn't understand what the guy did, how he managed to deflect all the arrows, and why he was able to destroy Emilia's wind magic so easily. Finally, the tentacles protruding from Noah's seal appeared, but the question of what kind of magic this was still remained open. The young man proudly showed off the seal on his hand and said that with his abilities he could use anti-air tentacles. Emilia seemed to have never seen anything like this before. She opened her mouth and screamed, either from fear or from surprise. Her feelings were shared by all the other girls present in the training area. The guy immediately began to be asked a lot of questions about whether what he was using was a monster. Why are the creatures black, shiny and wiggling? Are they doing anything strange? To all the questions, the young man only said that these were tentacles. Anya, who had come to her senses a little, watched the scene and, putting her hand to her head, only said that such a reaction to the guy's magic was quite expected, because these tentacles scared her for the first time. Emilia, still in shock, cursed and did not understand how she should fight these strange creatures. The girl screamed that she just wanted to measure the guy's magical abilities, and he released some strange things. Nav, accustomed to such reactions to his tentacles, said that he was a tentacle wizard. Emilia squealed and said that she had never heard of such magicians and threatened him not to approach her. Noah only confirmed that he is a rare type of magician and again said that his tentacles are not suitable for fighting against one opponent. The guy became very serious and said that the power controlling the tentacles was difficult to control, and if they stopped obeying their master, they could accidentally hurt the enemy too much. The student, having heard such information, was greatly amazed and frightened, because before she was the strongest among all the students, and now someone else was threatening her with his magic. A moment later, the young man became very cheerful and said that since the girl looked so self-confident, then she probably wouldn't mind getting a massage. Emilia was clearly not ready to hear such a proposal, since she thought that the guy would continue to intimidate her and talk about the greatest abilities of his tentacles. The girl thought that Noah was laughing at her, and even if he was not serious, then when they entered the ring they should fight and not joke. The student got angry and told the guy to get ready, because she would not give in to some small tentacles. The young man seemed to assume that the girl would say something like that, because he saw how arrogant she acted towards his friend. Having enlarged the seal, Noah called out to the darkness and summoned a huge tentacle, striking in its size. There were also smaller tentacles around it. The girl, seeing this, was even more frightened and screamed in horror. The other students seemed, on the contrary, to be delighted rather than horrified. They were surprised by the guy's magic, which they had never seen before. They praised him, saying what crazy power he had. Anya, hearing how the other girls enthusiastically accepted the exchange student's ability, exhaled and calmed down, because she forbade him to show this dark magic, knowing that not everyone would be able to treat it normally. Emilia, still scared and not knowing what to do, fired air arrows at the huge creature in front of her, hoping that she could defeat them. However, for him they were insignificant. When the arrows reached their target, they were simply reflected and lost their combat power. Emilia could not believe that her strongest weapon had no effect and did not help her in the duel against her opponent. After defending themselves, the tentacles finally decided to attack and headed towards the girl to neutralize her. The tentacles wrapped around the girl, holding her arms, legs, and waist. They didn't let her move, and she screamed to be let go. Grabbing Emilia's face, the tentacles seemed to want to completely envelop her. The girl did not understand what the guy controlling the tentacles wanted to do to her. She was unhappy that someone was touching her delicate skin and demanded to be let go. Noah didn't worry about anything and just repeated what he said earlier. He wanted to give her a massage and he didn't care that the girl asked not to touch her. The student's body was trembling. She did not know what would happen to her next, and the tentacles continued to hold her and coat her with their mucus. Noah began to analyze the girl's condition and replied that as soon as the tentacles touched the girl, he understood her problems. Due to her outstanding shape, Emilia's shoulders were always very tense. The guy continued and noted that the girl's body was too tense. He listed different types of muscles, reinforcing the fact that he actually knew what he was talking about. Meanwhile, the tentacles began to massage her back and thighs. The girl no longer looked frightened. She did not understand what feeling she was experiencing. Her eyes were closed and a blush appeared on her cheeks. A moment later, Emilia lost control of herself. Her mouth was drooling, and all she could say was how pleased she was with the sensations she was experiencing. The tentacles did not stop and began to touch the girl in interesting places, simultaneously covering all parts of her body with mucus. Only after some time did Emilia realize that everything that was happening to her was being watched by many students who had recently admired her abilities, which made her feel ashamed. After chattering, the girl again tried to persuade the guy to stop and let her go, because what would those who watched such a scene think about her, where all parts of the body were enveloped by tentacles, opening up a view of interesting places. My classmates, looking at the spectacle that opened before their eyes, did not know how to react to this. They expected to see an outstanding fight, but heard only the sobs of their idol. While doing the massage, the tentacles passed over the girl's forms, intensively massaging her body. The girl was gasping with pleasure, but asked to stop touching her. The mucus was all over Emilia's body and even through her clothes was able to moisturize her skin, giving it a more elastic appearance. The student closed her eyes in pleasure. Drops of sweat flowed down her body and mixed with the mucus produced by the tentacles. Squeezing the girl's form, the tentacles washed her skin, not missing a single place in order to completely satisfy the girl. It was clear from Emilia's reaction that, although she resisted for a long time, she was pleased to feel how she was being massaged by the creatures she was so afraid of. Emilia, being a girl of noble birth, high morals, having a good figure, a beautiful face, excellent awards, and even the best level of magic in the class, now appeared in front of others in such an indecent form. The tentacles did to her what they wanted, or rather obeyed the guy who controlled them and moved parts of the girl's body in different directions, showing other girls her interesting places. Once again pulling on her clothes, the tentacles seemed to show all the girls' secret places to the others. The students, who became unwitting spectators, noted that Emilia did not have a completely feminine figure. The student begged the guy to stop and asked him to order the tentacles to stop. She even said that she would admit defeat if only this would all stop. Noah grinned and continued to control the tentacles using seals. He replied that he did not need any recognition. He only wanted to take responsibility for providing her with a quality massage, and was obliged to complete this matter. The young man smiled slightly and replied that he would not stop anything until the girl's body completely relaxed and finally succumbed to sensations. The girl, having heard what the guy said, did not want to believe it. She had already even admitted his victory and her defeat, but he didn't need anything like that. He acted only on his own whim. The tentacles did not give her the slightest chance of retreat and, having completely enveloped her, touched places that the girl would never have allowed. She was desperate, but pleasure spread through her body. After some time, clouds flew over the academy building again and it was a normal sunny day. Noah was sitting in the audience, but there was no one next to him. Everyone avoided him, and he only caught someone's glances at him. It seemed to the young man that after that fight he became not someone interesting who came to the women's academy, but someone with whom no one wanted to communicate. The girls who witnessed the duel between Emilia and Noah spoke of him as a threat to the girls and clearly no longer wanted anything to do with him, although this was not clear to the guy, because he thought that the massage would help her. Anya, who appeared next to the young man, explained to him that for everyone else after his massage, he became nothing more than an enemy. The young man shuddered and tried to justify himself by saying that he just wanted to massage the girl's tense shoulders. Noah's friend, exhaling, said only that the guy was really a fool with tentacles, to which the young man slightly excitedly called the girl by name. Anya, coming closer, sat down in the seat next to the guy, to which he was surprised and asked if she really wanted to sit next to him, because now he is the one with whom no one wants to deal. The student, once again scolding the young man, said that the use of tentacles against Emilia was too much, but she wanted to tell him something else. Turning away and not looking at Noah, Anya said that she was glad when he did not defend and thanked him for that. She was very embarrassed, but found the strength to say these words. Noah was very happy to hear this, so a smile and a slight blush appeared on his face. The guy decided that, as a gift for such kind words, he would give the girl another massage. But Anya immediately hurried to cover his mouth and said that such things should not be said in class, but the young man did not understand why. The girl decided to arrange a training session in the room. At this time, she was talking to the guy and said that she did not want to show off, but when she was a child, she was predicted to have a huge amount of power and had high hopes. However, after Anya entered the academy, not only did she not shine with outstanding skills, she generally could not use even basic magic. While doing stretching exercises, she continued to complain that due to such failures in magic competitions, Anya said that she was in last place in the ranking. A guy reading a book and sitting nearby at a table reasoned that there must be some explanation for why the girl's magic did not work. Closing the book, the young man asked a question to Anya, who was still training hard. He asked what kind of wizard she wanted to become if she put so much effort into various training. The girl seemed a little embarrassed by this question. She took a break from her exercises, grabbing a towel and looking at Noah. Approaching the window, the student said that although she wants to become a magician, in fact she wants to be a knight more. The guy was surprised, not expecting to hear such an answer from his girlfriend. The young man, even knowing that the girl had good physical strength, did not understand why Anya did not want to make more efforts to study magic. The girl, looking out the window, reasoned that even knights still need magic, but, unfortunately, she cannot use it. She was worried that if a person did not become a first-class magician, then in the kingdom of Winbirds he would not be recognized as a knight. Upset, the student turned to the guy and suggested that he was probably wondering why she was still studying at the academy if her magic had not awakened. However, Noah said he never even thought about it. Continuing to share her experiences, Anya said that all her classmates looked askance at her and she did not like this feeling. Even some teachers suggested that the girl quit her studies and find another path, which greatly confused her. Noah was surprised that something like this was happening to her. He immediately remembered all the conversations he had heard from his classmates. She was actually accused of causing the group's ratings to be low, and even of acting through bribery. However, Anya, despite everything she heard addressed to her, did not despair. She will never give in to provocations and she has all the qualities to prove to everyone that she is a worthy person. The guy didn't understand a little what his girlfriend meant and asked again to whom and what she wanted to prove. Was she really so worried about what others would think of her and wanted to reach heights just to establish herself in the eyes of others? But that was not the end goal. The girl's family had a knightly background for several generations. Her mother is a knightly leader, and her sister is a commanding officer, and she was very proud of them, because they are excellent people. Anya also had a younger sister, but she did not speak very well of her. The younger sister, according to the girl, was a monster who gets the highest grades at the academy and stands at the top of the ratings. Noah's friend is back to being the only one left behind when compared to everyone else. She even thought that nothing was expected of her, having long been disappointed. But that is precisely why the girl so badly wanted to prove to everyone that she would certainly become a great magician and an excellent knight. She wanted to prove that even with such abilities, she could overcome everything and cope with everything. The guy didn't even doubt his friend's words. He truly knew and believed in what she was saying. He promised that he would definitely help her on this difficult path of becoming a great magician and a brave knight. The girl was amazed. She was a little embarrassed, but was grateful to the young man for such words. No one believed in her, and a student who appeared under strange circumstances promised to help her. Anya turned away from the window and turned to the guy. She couldn't believe that he didn't laugh at her like everyone else and call her stupid. Noah looked calm and sincere. He assured the girl that he never laughs at other people's dreams, no matter what they are. The student was touched by his words. No one had ever said something like that to her before, and she, blushing slightly, could not answer. However, after a couple of moments, she still thanked the young man and thought that he really wasn't lying. The guy's serious eyes inspired confidence, and the girl was happy to have such a conversation with him. Noah is someone she really felt comfortable with at the academy. He was supportive and stood up for her. It was nice. Night fell, and the student hurried to finish the conversation because she still had to take a bath and have time to go to bed. The guy, without missing a beat, decided to again offer the girl a massage so that she wouldn't be tired later. Shifting with happiness, Anya could not believe that her friend would not only support her with words, but also help her relax physically, because after training she was really tired. However, the guy soon added that, of course, he didn't mean a simple massage, but using his magic, or rather with the help of tentacles. Noah had already summoned his creatures using the seal and smiled in anticipation. The girl immediately became embarrassed and shouted that she had forgotten about his strength. On the spur of the moment, she really thought that the guy would help her relax on his own, and not with the help of his dark magic. And the guy said that the tentacles missed her. Continuing to be indignant, the student reminded her friend of what he had done to Amelia recently, because of which everyone saw her not in the best light, and also because of this incident, other girls who study with them do not want to contact him. Noah did not draw any morality from the situation and only understood that with the help of his tentacles, Amelia was able to feel truly good. However, Anya again pointed out to him that he had drawn the wrong conclusion. Without having time to say anything else, the girl did not even notice how the tentacles enveloped her, again constraining her movements. Already in his own manner, the young man advised his girlfriend not to resist and not to restrain herself. Noah also hastened to add that the tentacles clasping the girl are only auxiliary, and the main ones are already located throughout the room. The student said that this is more like a fucking strategy than a massage. The guy, taking a responsible approach to the words about the girl's dream, said that as support he would try to serve her at the highest level. However, his friend interrupted him and explained that that was not why she told the story. The tentacles holding the girl by the arms and legs carefully lowered her onto the bed, and the rest of the tentacles in the room immediately hurried to cling to her body. The student protested and demanded to be released. A strange sensation enveloped her. Like last time, she could not see what was happening to her because she was placed on her stomach. Anya felt that something was pouring onto her back. She didn't understand what kind of liquid it could be because it didn't look like mucus. The guy hastened to assure the girl that she should not worry, because what was running down her back was oil. But the student still wondered why he used it this time. Noah replied that he didn't want his girlfriend's skin to be damaged because compared to last time, this massage would be more intense due to excessive friction or stimulation. The young man continued to talk about how the oil is secreted by the largest tentacle, and it has the same composition as natural oil. It is universal and has a number of advantages: prevention against acne, protection against burns, and much more. The girl was not delighted with what she heard. Her legs, covered with new fluid, were intensively massaged. Noah explained this change in approach to massage by the fact that the girl was after training. Anya, I feel the force with which her body was crushed this time, tried to say that she didn't like it, but a blush appeared on her face and she began to breathe harder. The tentacles moved from the legs higher to the lower back, reaching the back. The young man, being nearby, commented on every movement of his subordinates. He said that this special massage would help the girl's tired muscles. Having reached her hands, the student could no longer restrain herself, because she really liked the way the tentacles were massaged. She tried to convince herself that she didn't like it, but she didn't succeed. Going down to the toes, the tentacles squeezed between them, further lubricating the girl's skin with oil. Anya's facial expression changed with every movement of the tentacles and showed many emotions that were difficult to describe. Passing between the fingers, the tentacles gave the girl pleasure, which she so vehemently denied, but she could no longer restrain her voice from the sensations that visited her. Having approached an interesting place, the tentacles did not stop for a minute. The guy who controls his creatures said that the new liquid is not only natural and healthy, but also has a refreshing aroma that improves blood circulation. Turning the girl's body over, the large tentacle again poured even more oil onto the student's skin. But Anya could no longer account for her actions. She just repeated that this syrupy liquid was very dangerous. The student rolled her eyes with pleasure and opened her mouth, from which drool flowed. She not only could not move, she could no longer think about anything except these tentacles that were giving her another massage. However, the young man, who so diligently controlled the tentacles with the help of seals, no longer looked so joyful and carefree. He seemed to become more serious and focused. The tentacles continued to envelop every centimeter of the girl's body, enveloping her curves. The guy repeated the words that the oil would act as a moisturizer and protect his friend's skin from dryness. The girl didn't care about the young man's words. She completely surrendered to the sensations and ignored the information about how useful the liquid used was. The girl's clothes, in which she trained, were completely saturated with oil, making it easy for the tentacles to pass over the surface of the body. Noah said that there were too many toxins in the student's body, so he would also detoxify with the help of a massage. Increased stimulation of blood circulation will increase the efficiency of metabolism, burning fat. Holding all parts of the body in a vice, the tentacles squeezed the girl's form, and Noah still talked about how with this method of massage, intense movements will help relax and improve the rate of blood circulation in the body. Anya no longer uttered a word, did not argue or resist. She just kept her mouth open so that it would be easier for her to breathe, and what was happening seemed so pleasant to her. Due to too many factors that give pleasure to the girl, constantly adding oil, intense stroking, and an intoxicating aroma, all this made Anya think that she would soon feel too good. Soon, some sounds were heard coming from behind the door to the couple's room. Someone knocked on the wood, attracting attention. Noah did not come closer to the source of the noise. He just turned around and asked who and what wanted from those inside. The door, which was not locked, opened slightly and a voice was heard from behind it. Someone said that they heard some screams, so they decided to find out what was happening. A young woman appeared from behind the door, conducting the training and serving as a teacher-instructor. The lady, whose name was Heidi Mayer, asked if everything was all right with the guys. But when she saw what was happening in the room, she was shocked. The woman saw that above a large seal on the floor, from which tentacles were visible, there was a girl asking for help, being held at a height, and a careless guy nearby. Smiling, the young man easily said that he was just giving a massage to his girlfriend. However, the teacher, arriving in a state of shock, asked since when such actions are called massage. The girl, being a prisoner of the guy's tentacles and hanging upside down, was in despair. But again and again she called Miss Heidi for help. The woman was not delighted with what she saw, so she threatened the students that she would not ignore it when something like this happened within the walls of the academy. However, before she could finish speaking, the tentacles grabbed the woman's leg and also pulled her up. They, as usual, wrapped their arms and legs around someone else's body. The teacher was shocked and immediately asked what was being done to her. Noah, who seemed to be expecting such a turn of events, was not embarrassed and did not order his tentacles to stop, but said that he was preparing for this. Anya, realizing what was happening, asked her neighbor what was wrong with him that he was doing such a thing. The tentacles, without wasting a minute, wrapped themselves around the new person, without hesitation to crawl under the clothes. The woman did not understand what was happening to her, and why they were doing such strange things to her. The creatures quickly massaged the woman's body, lifting her clothes up and revealing to prying eyes what was underneath. Touching the teacher's form, the tentacles passed between the skin and elements of clothing, generously lubricating the surface of the body with oil. The woman asked to stop what they were doing to her, and to let her go immediately, because she began to experience incomprehensible and strange feelings. However, the tentacles did not obey anyone except their owner and could complete all manipulations only if the guy controlling the seals ordered them to stop. Form, causing her to be in a strange state. However, even in this form, she noticed that this time there were more tentacles than there were before. The woman who had recently entered the room to check on the students also stopped resisting and asking to be let go. The tentacles enveloped the teacher's form too much, and because of this she felt them even more acutely. The guy, who was already exhausted, was breathing heavily and said that a massage for two people at once consumed too much magical energy. The young man even started bleeding from his mouth due to the tension. However, Anya did not believe that he cared. The tentacles pushed the women's bodies too close to each other, causing them to touch. The creatures moved chaotically between the two bodies, releasing liquid that helped them glide over the skin more easily. Anya could not restrain her voice and sounds of pleasure came from her mouth. However, the teacher tried to maintain her dignity and could not come to terms with the fact that her student could see her delicate figure, because it was very embarrassing. Both girls could no longer tolerate such manipulations with them. The tentacles accelerated, giving the two bodies an unforgettable sensation. Heidi Mayer, closing her eyes, could no longer maintain the amount of control that prevented her from completely giving in to her students. Anya, with her mouth wide open, from which saliva flowed, screamed that she felt too good now and could no longer tolerate the actions that the tentacles were doing to her. All the interesting parts were exposed and covered only by a small amount of remaining fabric. Both bodies were covered with oil, which was carried by the tentacles, and the girls, clinging to each other, were no longer embarrassed. After it was all over, the teacher's body literally sparkled, as if the skin had been replaced with new one and given incredible elasticity. The woman's form also changed and seemed to be renewed. The skin was really well hydrated and tightened. The healing properties turned out to be true and very real. Coming to her senses, Heidi Mayer looked at her face in the small mirror, marveling at how good she now looked. She could not believe that some kind of massage, even such a strange one, could improve her condition so much. The guy was delighted and praised his tentacles. He noted that the oil they used helped soften the skin as if the woman had just returned from the salon. And also, among other things, this massage helps improve posture. The woman was impressed and praised the guy. She thanked him and said that she might need his help in the future. The young man agreed and noted that now the teacher even began to look younger. Anya did not share their feelings. Heidi asked if Noah was tired and would like to come to her office tomorrow. The young man agreed, because he clearly loved what he did. He suggested that the woman get a massage before bed. Anya was angry and asked them to stop communicating. One day, before the guy became a student at the academy, Noah was invited to the director's office. She greeted the young man and noted the fact that they had not seen each other for a long time. A whole year has passed since their last meeting. The guy confirmed this and said that they really hadn't seen each other for a long time. But he didn't understand why the woman called him. The young man was a very busy man, so he could not waste time on meaningless conversations and meetings. Noah decided to remind his older friend that he is doing important things, hunting monsters and improving his magical powers. However, the director immediately assured that there were no monsters in her academy, but she still needed his help. The young man promised to do everything that Margaret Grimm asked him to do, because if he did not want to do this, he would not agree to meet with her. Hearing these words, the woman decided to ask the guy one question. Margaret wanted to know if Noah had ever heard of forbidden magic. The guy clearly did not expect such a question. His face became a little gloomy. He could not answer anything and only looked questioningly at the woman in front of him. The director decided not to wait for an answer and tell her that this is the main magic that was used in the war for the continent. People said that by using forbidden magical tools one could increase the magical power of those who were weak. Having heard this story, the young man immediately realized that it was impossible to increase his strength without giving something in return. Therefore, he suggested that while a person would gain greater strength, he would have to accept the fact that it would be detrimental to one's health. Margaret confirmed the young man's words and added that such magic has a side effect, which is that when the powers are used, poison begins to be released. She compared this feeling to how evil slowly begins to take over the body. Noah tried to guess why he was called after all, because the story about forbidden magic was told to him for a reason. The guy thought that the director called him to find and get rid of these evil forces. However, this was not Margaret's goal. Turning to the window so as not to look at the young man, the director said that, unfortunately, her academy looked like a place where they trained outlaw magicians. A little nervous, the woman said that she really wanted to believe in the best and teach her students, but all the girls were so weak and innocent, so she wanted the young man to help her make sure that no one wanted to use forbidden magic. Noah was amazed by the director's attitude towards his students. He could not even imagine how responsibly and seriously she approached the issue of their safety and did everything to ensure that they were not harmed. Inspired, the guy seemed to beam with enthusiasm and happily agreed to his older friend's proposal. He said that the time had finally come for his magic to shine and help others instead of destroying monsters. However, Margaret, turning and coming close to Noah, told him not to joke with her and strictly forbade him to use and summon tentacles at the academy. She did not consent to the use of the creatures. Frightened, the young man immediately agreed with the ban. Noah was upset and still decided to try to get pity on him by asking if the young man could really use his magic only in defense. Ignoring all the questions, the director said that this is not the only reason why he is here now. Margaret clarified that, as the guy knew, she was the director of a girls' academy, so she wanted the young man to help her do something else. The woman spoke in a veiled manner, so the guy did not understand what she wanted from him. The director replied that Noah would now be an exchange student who would study with the rest of the academy students. The young man did not catch the woman's thoughts and only asked why he should pretend to study among all the girls. Margaret was serious and said that when Noah was at the academy, he would be like a tiger in the wild. He will slowly watch his prey. The guy must be patient and be willing to do anything to complete the mission. The guy was very inspired by the director's speech and immediately said that he was ready for anything. The young man was purposeful and had already promised to do whatever his older friend asked him to do. However, one question interested Noah. He decided to ask Margaret for details about the academy, because he knew absolutely nothing about it. Arriving to visit an older friend, he did not find out about the place where she worked as a director. The woman limited herself to saying that her academy consists entirely of women. And, oddly enough, this did not bother the young man at all, but on the contrary, he was glad to hear such information. Suddenly, there was a knock on the door and a voice was heard in the corridor. Both the director and Noah turned around at the sound. The young man did not know who had disturbed them, but Margaret, having come to her senses, immediately told the man that he could enter the office. A girl appeared in front of the two people, who was clearly one of the students of this academy. She apologized for disturbing her and asked why the director called her. Currently, the girl from the memories was holding a book in her hands and looking questioningly at the young man sitting in front of her. She asked what happened to the guy's face and why he looked so strange. The young man, returning from his memories, said that everything was fine. Making up an excuse, he replied that he was surprised how big the library he and Anya came to was. The girl didn't understand what was so special about it. However, the library was truly amazing in its scale. The visit was on several floors, there were bookcases everywhere. The young man, looking around, could not even imagine how many books with different literature this library contained. Taking one of the books lying on the table, Noah opened a random page and showed his neighbor a sketch about a demon and a monk who sold him his soul. The young man really liked something like this, but the girl was always surprised and did not share his interests.